Everyone said AI would destroy marketing agencies, but the exact opposite has been true. Now, thanks to AI, agency owners can build a business that generates more meaningful cash flow for founders by giving each employee superpowers to scale. We're seeing agencies generate up to $1 million ARR per employee. Or you can create a sellable asset and turn in the business into something that no longer depends on you, the founder, or even its employees. It is more scalable and more profitable, which means you have a higher exit valuation multiple and you can sell for a lump sum in the future. But building an AI native agency is not easy. There is way too much noise in AI. There's constantly new models, new tools, new techniques to learn. And as a result, most agencies are stuck using ChatGPT and other basic tools for tasks. They have not meaningfully transformed how they get results for clients or their operating model so that they can reach unprecedented scale or profitability. And the reason why is that taking full advantage of all of that AI can do today requires a new set of skills. Client expectations are rising, and the agency business model has never been more attractive for both founders and investors. So I'm going to show you how to build an AI native agency. My company, Atherial, is an AI native agency, and we've run over 50 AI strategy and engineering engagements for clients, many of which are agencies, and in particular marketing agencies. And what we do is help companies find where AI makes an impact in the agency, and then actually build out custom agents and internal tools that run the agency's unique playbooks and are encoded with the team's expertise. So what exactly is an AI native agency? There's a lot of buzz around this topic from the VC world to the startup world and everywhere in between. I think the best way to describe it is by comparing it to a legacy service-only agency and comparing it to an AI application company. And really, an AI native agency gives you the best of both worlds. So a legacy agency can be a great business model, particularly as a small business that generates cash flow for the founders, or maybe to earn a small valuation multiple in the future and get a small lump sum for founders. But the problem is that basically revenue and headcount are kind of moving together in parallel. Margins are typically fairly low because you have to continue to scale payroll linearly with delivery. There's no kind of end state scalability where delivery to clients starts to get cheaper over time. The business value is basically fully dependent on people. As a result, your core competency as a founder and the way you spend your time has to be on hiring people, training people, managing people, and firing people, and all of the challenges that come with dealing with people. And it can often be very hard to hire and retain top talent as an agency because you're always moving from one milestone to the next, trying to get enough clients and revenue in the door so that you can afford to hire employees, and then your cost structure increases, so you have to get the next clients. Even if those clients are going to be a pain, you kind of just have to keep the cash flow coming in the door. So it kind of becomes this rat race challenge, even though again it can be profitable and good. And then on the far extreme, you have AI application companies, which they basically sell AI software tools directly to clients, and those clients use the tools maybe in addition to or as an alternative to working with an agency. And these businesses are extremely high margin and highly scalable, at least in theory. I put in theory because in reality, AI application companies are pretty much always spending a lot of money on engineering and marketing to keep up with the competition and stay relevant in the market. They have exit value because they have tech, but also their pricing tends to be lower than an AI native agency because application companies can only do so much. They can't really handle strategy and the last mile execution and human in the loop judgment calls that need to be made, which is something that an AI native agency can do. And they're also less flexible for each customer's needs, and as a result, don't always fully solve the problem. Customers still have to operate the tool themselves, and or they're going to need forward deployed engineers to kind of customize it for their use case, company context, tech stack, etc. And so AI native agencies, again, provide the best of both worlds. They can own the full workflow for the client. They can handle strategy um, as well as the last mile execution. And so the clients don't have to do nearly as much work. You can basically get to software like margins while maintaining service level pricing because you are adding that much more value to the client. And as long as AI is handling a lot of your delivery operations instead of just like a massive team of people, your profit margins can be really quite high. And you can earn a higher exit valuation multiple because the business is no longer dependent on the founder or the team like a legacy agency is. And you can even have a little bit of IP. The most valuable AI native agencies are not just using the off the shelf tools, they are actually building custom tools that encode their playbooks and judgment into the system so that they can run their unique playbooks, not a generic playbook for all customers. And AI native agencies can also create AI applications that stand alone that customers can use, or that they give to customers along with their services. We've done this for a couple of consulting firms, but I think the sweet spot is just building internal tools so that delivery is a lot more scalable and profitable and even higher quality and more effective than a legacy agency, and ultimately delivers better results for clients. After helping multiple agencies become AI native, I've noticed that there's basically this 6-level maturity ladder. Most agencies are stuck at step 4 or even earlier in this life cycle, but let me explain what it looks like. So the first part is automation, and this is where agencies are using AI to kind of just do what they used to do and just kind of do it cheaper and faster and save some time here and there and just get AI to handle like some operational grunt work of like moving things between tools and maybe drafting some emails, generating some briefs, generating some content drafts, maybe some AI generated creative and things like that. Just some very basic tasks. And what this looks like in practice is usually where most people start is the AI chat applications like ChatGPT or Claude. And then they move on to AI features that are inside your existing SaaS tech stack, such as HubSpot and Descript. Then there are standalone AI application companies. And this is like Jasper and Profound that will give you a new capability. The more advanced agencies within this automation mode will move on to building their own custom workflows and even some basic agents and internal tools as well. And this is like using tools like Zapier, N8N, or maybe like vibe coding some like internal dashboards and websites and landing pages and things like that using Lovable or Claude Code. But the big shift really happens when you move from automation mode and into transformation mode. And this is when you start having real, what I call AI employees that are actually running larger workflows, handling more complex work for you, and really allowing you to handle a lot higher client load than you would have otherwise been able to. And what this looks like in practice is building agents and internal tools. And I'll cover what an agent actually is, and using tools like Claude Code, either that they're using themselves internally with somebody who's technical or through hiring engineers to build for them. And then the final stage is where you actually take the tools that you've built for yourself and release them either to other agencies or to clients directly. And as I mentioned, there's also like a hybrid motion where you give clients access to a tool such as like a visibility tracker or AIO visibility tracker or something like that, but you're still providing consulting and execution services on top of that product. The product can be based on your playbooks. It runs your playbooks and it's encoded with your expertise, or it could be like which is like creating a new category of tool, or it could be taking a very popular tool in your space, maybe that your clients might buy directly or that you might buy, but for your specific vertical that you serve, that tool doesn't quite meet the needs, and you can change up the capabilities, provide a differentiated feature set, add on some more benefits to make it better suited to a specific market of yours. But again, I think that's kind of a future state, because I do think that if you want to be competitive in that kind of business, you really need to like make a pretty drastic committed move in that direction. I think where most companies are best suited to get value from AI is step number 5 of creating AI teammates, agents, and internal tools that help them scale. So what exactly is an agent? This is one of those buzzwords that gets thrown around, and everybody has a different definition of it. And unfortunately, I see agents being described to handle like anything from like a Slack automation to like send data into Slack to something that creates content. But really, I think the main benefit of an agent, as far as agencies are concerned, is that it can handle a much larger workflow for you, more advanced work, and it can be customized to run your playbooks and to have your expertise so that it can deliver for you reliably and at scale. You're not just sitting there babysitting ChatGPT or another generic off the shelf agent. It can just kind of like run for you in the background. So there's kind of two ways this can be done. There's, call it active and passive, or proactive versus reactive. You can do it different terms, but I think most people are familiar with AI using it actively through a chat window, or through Slack or through the terminal. You send a message and it takes in that context and runs for you. It can also be passive, where it's like running in the background, maybe based on a schedule, like every day or every hour, or it can be triggered based on an event, like whenever we have a call with the client, or whenever an email from the client comes in, whenever a new blog post draft is added into Google Drive. You can think of an unlimited number of triggers. And then the agent takes it from there. And basically, agents are a harness that contain, the model, the LLM, and it's the same models that you would access through the chat apps, just you're using it through the API. It has context on your business and like your approach to things, as well as the client's context. So you can, be in that specific client's brand voice. And it has access to tools where, this is like looking at like a GTM example, where it would like be able to go out and web search, pull in call recording context, maybe look at the CRM, maybe do some lead enrichment. For any different use case, these would be obviously very different tools. So we can go use those tools, bring those tools back into context, and then either take the next step and decide what step to take, and it can decide which tools to use and decide if it needs to keep going to achieve the objective, or if it is done, and it can just send you a response. And there's some other nuances here, where you have like a system prompt, which is like the general instructions and context of what its purpose is in general. And then a memory feature, like if the users of the agent keep giving certain kind of feedback, like don't use M dash, it should be able to remember to not use M dash. But yeah, again, high level, give it an objective. It decides what steps and what tools to use, and it achieves it for you autonomously without you having to babysit and manage every single step of the way. And it can be customized to your business. Where should you actually deploy AI? I think this is a very big problem, where most agencies are doing what I call random acts of AI, which is they hear about a cool idea on X or LinkedIn and they say, hey, this sounds cool. This might be helpful. Let's build it out. But I instead really encourage agencies to first start with a number, which is like your goal of where you want to take the business. And this is usually like a revenue number, or potentially like a profit or cash flow number. But I think usually for agencies that are, say, under 10 million, it's usually more of a revenue growth number. And that's a lot of where we help clients. And this is the methodology that we run with clients. So pick that number, diagnose the key constraint or growth lever for the business, usually either a demand, or like client acquisition, or supply, delivering to clients. Map the operating model, including the playbooks that you want to run, like what's going to actually get results for you, whether it's run by a human or an AI. Like what should anybody be doing to help grow your agency? Then we run the SLED framework. We'll run into this in detail. 4 different buckets of use cases that make impact for agencies. Once you have an idea, you're going to decide whether you're going to build or buy. And if you're going to build it, you're going to prioritize by impact versus engineering effort to make sure that you get ROI. And lastly, you're going to deploy, measure, maintain, upgrade, expand it out to the organization, continue to have it handle more and more of the workflow. There's usually something happens before the agent kicks off or before the person is using the agent. Something happens, with the output of the agent where the human does it with something, and you can just continue to grow, expand, interconnect all your agents and tools into a comprehensive operating system. So mapping the business, very key part. And if we want to really simplify this down, an agency is basically two main components. There's demand and there's supply. You need to get clients and you need to deliver to clients. Of course, there's more nuance to that. I think of supply, delivery is basically a lead gen channel for me. So if you deliver better work to clients, you will retain them. You may be able to sell them more work, upsell them, get more revenue per client. You may get referrals or word of mouth from it. You get case studies and testimonials which help you land more clients and so on. And then you also have back office, which is the reason why this is important is because usually the founder is maybe stuck in some sort of back office tasks such as finance, accounts receivable, and stuff like that, which takes their time away from spending their time on the key growth lever or constraint. So that's why I wanted to add it here. Most of the use cases we'll talk about throughout this video will be focused on demand and supply, but there are opportunities in back office as well to free up the founder or the team for higher impact work. Now let's break down the demand side of the business as an example of how to map your business. So basically what we're going to do is look at all the component parts of any individual function within demand and figure out what's going to give you results if you scale it up and do more volume, or if you start doing it in the first place, and what's currently taking up too much of your time and could free you up for higher impact work. So really the demand side is essentially generating leads and winning deals. And you can break it down further. Lead gen agencies are going to typically have one or more main channels, depending on the business or the type of agency. Could be content, networking, referrals, partnerships, ads, or outbound. My agency does primarily network and content. So I have tools for both of those channels that help me to, do more volume and have it not take up as much of my time. Our sales process, your sales process might be a little bit different, but we then, qualify. It's not as much time saving, but more so it's helping me improve how I do the function so I can be better at qualifying leads. Which in turn helps me to win more deals, craft better messaging, spend time on qualified leads, spend less time on unqualified leads, etc. And then winning deals, which is things like sales decks, demos in our case, proposals, statements of work, all that stuff, all those touch points that are going to, emit professionalism, and so on. And I have tools for just about all that. I'll show you my slide deck and proposal generator later. Another note on delivery is it's really important to get granular because delivery is not just doing the work and getting results. It's also communicating the work to clients and making sure that they see it as valuable. And so there's tools you can do to improve, make sure that clients actually perceive the value that you're giving them. So very important to really treat the business almost like an engineering problem or like a product and really break down these core components. From there, we run this SLED framework. SLED is 4 parts: scale what already works, launch something new, enable what was impossible or enable you to get better results. And then D is do recurring manual work to automate it, make it lower cost, make it spend less time, and free you and your team up for higher work. Scale, a lot of examples here is hey, if outbound is working for you and maybe you're, maybe look at people that are hiring a CMO or you look at companies that just hired a CMO and that has created clients for you. But you or your team has only so much time in the day to research those leads. You can just get AI to do it and just do it at a much more higher volume. Just have it running in the background without anybody having to really do anything except for show up onto those first call. Maybe content's working for you, so you can start repurposing your content onto more channels or just to be able to do a higher volume. So that's scale. Launch something new. Maybe you're only currently doing one channel, like you're doing networking and referral, and now you need to stand up like an outbound channel. And as long as you have conviction that that can work for you, then you may as well get AI to do it for you. Or maybe your client communications, you were just communicating through like Google Docs, but now thanks to AI, you can create like really pretty dashboards or interactive slide decks with interactive components and just include your branding and maybe, interactive or even include videos or something like that. Like you can kind of launch a new, like, in this case, like an account management function to help you improve the perceived value of what clients are getting. Or maybe you can add an entirely new deliverable to your client base. Like if you're making videos for clients, now maybe you can repurpose those videos because you can do it at a very low cost thanks to AI. And, it can help you win more deals, retain deals, help your clients get better results, and so on. Enable what was impossible before. These are the things that are usually like maybe they're on your to-do list, but you haven't quite got to them because there's always something more urgent or more important. And the reality is like you probably shouldn't be spending your time on a lot of these things, but if AI can handle it for you at a much lower cost and at scale and in the background, then it may provide an ROI for you simply because it's now lower cost. An example here is like I'm building like a company brain, which reviews all of our internal and external conversations, like internal stand-up meetings, as well as like prospects and clients. And it looks for trends and patterns and comes up with ideas for new offers, how to improve messaging, people that I may have forgot that I need to follow up with, things like that I never would have done. I never would have gone through and like found all these trends and all these calls. I couldn't even hold that much context in my head, but AI can, and it can improve our results and then do recurring manual work. So yeah, I think you want to always be looking at like what's taking too much of your time, and you can do what's called like a time review. So most people like put events on their calendar for the future of what they're going to do, but it's also helpful to review like what did you actually spend your time on. And so maybe as an exercise for say a week, just like to actually document what did you actually spend your time on, and look for those time consuming and costly tasks that you can get AI to handle for you. But again, focused, level it up to the like motion or function within your business, demand, supply, or a subcomponent thereof. Level it up to one of those things and level it up to, a financial metric or a business outcome that you're trying to achieve, either creating a business that has exit value on its own, generating more cash flow, or bringing in more clients so you have more revenue. So always have that business goal and have your business mapped before thinking about any of these 4 buckets of use cases. Next, you're going to want to run a build versus buy calculation. And I'm going to give you some like tests and questions you can run to get this question answered. But I'll just start by saying that coding agents completely wrecked the old build versus buy math. And more companies are choosing to build their tools instead of buy them, or to build entirely new tools that they couldn't even buy in the first place because coding agents just makes it that much easier. And there's some basic stuff you can build on your own, even if you're non-technical. But if once you get into, building more advanced stuff, you generally want to have an engineering team. But again, as long as the use case is tied to a financial metric and it can give an ROI for you, then it can be worth it to spend a little bit of money. But again, less than you would need to before. Everything is like faster and cheaper than it used to be thanks to coding agents. So here is my framework for build versus buy. The very short version is build what you cannot buy. In almost all cases, if there is an off-the-shelf tool that can do exactly what you need it to do, and it's not a crazy amount of money, which is probably not, like it's almost definitely worth just buying it. I almost never look at build for cost savings. There could be opportunities further down the road. Like I know, especially when you factor in like the amount of services that you need to build and maintain certain tools, like such as a Salesforce CRM, you're usually gonna have to like hire RevOps people to like build and maintain them for you. And so maybe when you factor in both the software and the services, then the math starts getting closer. But there are so many tools that are like, under 1,000, under 500 a month, certainly anything under like $100 a month. Like if it solves the problem, just buy it. I would just build what you can't buy. It gets a lot more like anything that's just like you're okay with like a generic tool that your competitors can get the same access, go with it. But once you get into like running your proprietary playbooks and encoding your expertise, that's generally where you need like different features, different capabilities, and it can be worthwhile to build your own tool that does what you need. And it really needs to be, this third item is like, it needs to be a use case that is high ROI. It needs to be able to deliver value for you, even when you factor in maintenance costs. Agencies are often tipping more towards build than buy because they have proprietary playbooks and expertise. They have multiple clients, and all those clients have different contexts. So it's almost like you need sort of a micro SaaS with almost like a multi-tenant, whereas most SaaS products that you can buy are geared towards like one company. Maybe there's multiple users, but it's usually just like one set of context. Agencies have multiple. And another emerging benefit for agencies and beyond is you can stay model agnostic, just always use the best model for the job. And you can even have the option to go with open source, which is not recommending doing that right now. It's an entire operation, but I think it is getting more practical to be able to do and potentially lower costs. So it's nice to be able to just always use the best vendors for the job. I think maintenance is probably the biggest reason why companies are hesitant to build their own tools. But my key thing is like, hey, this AI stuff, like it's a function on its own. It's just like any other function in the business, such as like recruiting or HR, like managing people, finance, even like the marketing function within a business. Like nothing is set it and forget it. Every like job function requires ongoing work and maintenance, and that's no different for AI. Now here's the thing, like AI also makes maintenance easier. Just like it makes building easier, it also makes maintenance easier. So I think that's the thing worth noting. And if you can build with a like fractional or partner or agency that has their own systems that can operate, maybe lower their costs for you and be able to do things much faster and more effective, then it can very easily be high ROI. But that being said, you can also build in-house as well if you want to build this muscle. Maybe you hire an engineer in-house, or maybe someone in-house who has technical tendencies can go full on. And there's also a lot of basic use cases that just a non-technical person can handle, like building dashboards or some basic workflows and things like that. It's really once you get into like having AI handle more complex work and do it reliably and at scale, and it's not just like a software automation, that's where having some AI engineering really helps. But yeah, maintenance is real. It's a real thing. You want to continue to be on the cutting edge, but it's not, it doesn't need to be a crazy high cost. And especially if the use case is worthwhile, it can totally still be high ROI. There are 3 main ways to deploy AI employees in your agency. You can buy off the shelf. You can buy an AI SDR that runs an outbound motion for you. There are other off-the-shelf agents that do a variety of things that you can just buy. A lot of times those agents are like somewhat generic in the sense that like they need to be able to meet the needs of a lot of different clients. And so they tend to build like a very like foundational horizontal layer. And it's not necessarily like the exact customized playbooks that you want to be able to run. You can configure an off-the-shelf agent, such as a Claude Code or a Codex, to be able to do a lot of different use cases for you, and you just kind of like operate that from within, say, like the terminal. And I'm going to show you a few of the 9A employees run into this category. And then you can build your own. You might have like a web app interface. Like sometimes you just need like different web app interfaces to be able to do certain functions and to present your deliverables in certain ways and manage your deliverables. It could be run through Slack with an agent harness like OpenClaw or something like that. And you can use Claude Code to actually write the code to build your agent. So that's kind of another hybrid. And just another cool note is with like build is like once you own the code, you can also get Claude Code to kind of like operate the tools for you and do the things that humans would otherwise have to do in the tools. And if and when you do need a new feature or capability or something like that, Claude can build it for you because it has the capabilities, and you don't have to wait for the product manager at some company to decide that they're going to build it for all their clients. So let's jump into it. I'll show you the 9 AI employees every agency needs. I'm going to mostly talk about like what we're running internally. I'm going to talk about client projects in a general sense. I can't share specifics of client works, but I can talk about like general use cases and stuff like that. Again, my agency, we do AI strategy and engineering. So a lot of our workflows apply to like product management and engineering. But there's also a lot of the same functions as a lot of other agencies, including marketing agencies such as client management, lead generation, sales. Ultimately, you will get your own org chart and head count of employees that are AI managing the key functions within your agency. Now I'm going to walk you through the 9 AI employees every agency needs to scale. The first one is content. Content is almost always a good channel to have for any agency because an agency sale is a high touch relationship based sale. You need to build trust, build a relationship. It also helps with network with it, which is another good channel. So you can consistently stay top of mind with your LinkedIn connections because they're always seeing you in their feed and you are adding value. So how do we get value from content? I think there's a few main ways. What you're seeing on the right is the self-improvement loop that I built in order to train my content agent on how I write. This is referring to the third item here, the self-improving loop. So basically I use the X API to ingest everything I've ever published. It measures them based on engagement and views to see what performs best. Then it dissects the winning formats, topics, substance that I write about, writing style techniques, etc., and distills it into 2 MD files, a voice MD, which is basically my writing style and the copywriting techniques that I use, and then a POV MD, which is basically my stories, experiences, credibility points that include the topics I write about, my perspectives and opinions on different subject matters, and just kind of like my content strategy, like the realm of things that I write about. And then from there, it can make it a lot easier for me to provide input and generate posts. And it will write the way I actually write and be aligned with my perspective. So I'm not just using training data. I actually give it like my opinion or the topic or the subject matter to write about, and it just uses those MD files to do it the way I would do it on my own. And then I still edit. Bunch of other cool features in my personal content agent. The topics matter a lot. So I use the X API to look at trending topics on X. I have a swipe file that I just use my bookmarks for, where I can tag bookmark to a folder of either substance or style. And if it's a substance, then it's a topic that I want to write about. And if it's style, it'll actually dissect the voice and tone and copywriting techniques that those posts use so that I can use those as inspiration for future posts that I write about. I have some other cool features in here too. Like I'm able to do podcast clips. So I have like pre-approved YouTube channels that I monitor and podcasts that I monitor. And then it will automatically transcribe them. And then it will see if the episode is likely to have any clips that I would want to clip. And then it finds clips. And the clips are based on my POV doc. So it basically only finds topics that I would be interested in writing about. And I'm working on incorporating the X trends as well, so I can write about trending topics, because just topics now are so influential on the algorithm. But the point here is figure out your content strategy and then get AI to assist you with it. And obviously, like, this could be part of delivery. I'm talking about it for part of my customer acquisition because content is a big channel for us, and we don't do content as a service. Network referral is a big channel for me. So, break down, well, how do you get networking referrals? Well, you have to stay top of mind with the people. Maybe you come up with an offer and you want to be able to search there. For example, for this, like if I'm doing a workshop on the AI native agency, I'm going to be able to search through all of my contacts and see who's an AI native agency, who's an agency that I should send this to. So I know the right people to send different like intro offers and lead magnets to, or to ask them if they know anybody, find out who's likely to know people who can refer you to stuff. But yeah, you just kind of like always want to be in touch with the people that matter to you in your network. You also want to make more intros. So I have some features where I can, where it'll ingest like call recordings, as well as like some extra lead enrichment, and pull in context from LinkedIn and from our past conversations. Then I can understand who's working on what and who can I match to each other, because it's always just a pain to remember like who's doing what. But AI can ingest like a virtually unlimited amount of context and be able to find, diamonds in the rough and needles in a haystack to figure out who you should introduce to each other. Have some tooling for offering intros. Again, offer more intros, get more intros. Yeah, all sorts of stuff. You can use software and AI to help you manage your relationship and stay in touch and get more intros and basically know who to reach out to, when, and what to say. Meeting prep. So I used to show up to meetings, and like right before I'd be like scrambling, like who is this person? Who do I need? What do I need to know about them? How do I adapt my messaging a little bit so I can, show that I did my research and talk about what they're likely to care about. So I just built a meeting prep agent that does it for me. And actually, going back to the SLED framework, it actually does more research than I ever could have done on my own because it was only so practical for me to do so much research. But when AI is doing it, it can actually look at more sources. And this is actually a surprisingly good use case for an agent because there are so many edge cases in doing this research. And you really want the agent to decide on a case by case basis what tools should it use, how should it research, when is done, and when should it actually give you the dossier. But basically, this is a background agent. It just runs in the background. And I just get emails in my inbox every morning with all my meetings for that day. And I get a dossier on the person and their company. And then it runs different workflows depending on if they're a prospect. Then I'll get like deal records and past call recordings, and we'll synthesize insights from past calls. And then for clients, of course, it'll do the same thing, but synthesize past calls so it knows, maybe reminds me of things that I need to bring up on the upcoming call. Integrated with a bunch of tools, and I'm using the Claude Agent SDK for this. Proposal and deck generator. I will just go ahead and show you a demo video of this. I turned Claude Code into the perfect slide deck and proposal maker. Let me give you a quick demo. So I'm running it here in Claude Code, and I'm running Claude Code within Cursor. Oftentimes for clients, we build this in a web app interface, so it's easier to run the playbooks that they want to run without having to deal with the terminal and all that. The key things to keep in mind to get to a really good slide deck that is in line with what you want and is going to give you a high quality result is basically commands, skills, and templates. I have a variety of commands for the different types of decks and deliverables that I can create with this, such as demo decks, project management decks, SOWs. It's in this demo, we're going to make a demo deck. And then there's skills, and the skills are for things like my design system, copywriting skills, and pricing guidelines. Here's like an ROI business calculator skill, so it knows how to frame the deliverables in terms of business metrics and outcomes that the prospect cares about. There are templates for all of these like different commands that it gets you to like a good V1 to start, so you're not rebuilding from scratch, wasting tokens or leaving it up to chance what you get. Then there's a variety of sections that can be used depending on what you're creating. It is a pretty flexible system. I think this is a good case for an agent because every deck you're going to make is always going to be a little bit different. It's not always an exact step-by-step process. So with Claude Code, it gives you flexibility. It's making the decks in code. And I'm making the decks in code because AI is really good at code, and AI is my biggest leverage point. So therefore, I want to like sort of speak AI's native language. So I'm going to make a new demo deck. So I'll just do the / command for the new demo deck. Now it's giving me a few different options of, again, templates that I can use. And I'm going to go with the demo deck. And it's integrated with Fireflies. So we can pull in the sales call transcripts from Fireflies. Now it's going to ask me a series of additional questions. And I'll just fill these out. I'll cut this out of the recording so I can get to the proposal for you. You can see it's also asking about HubSpot, so it has access to HubSpot too, so it can sync proposals from to HubSpot and pull context from HubSpot as well. And a key part of this questionnaire is it's asking me for like strategic input and getting my point of view. So I'm always able to add my own thinking. Always good to have AI ask you so it can kind of extract context from you. And after a few minutes of grinding, Claude Code created the proposal deck as a web page, ran my qualification scorecard to qualify the lead and push that to HubSpot. If there's not already a lead record for this, it'll create the lead record, but there usually already is because of another automation. And then we can just run this app locally and take a look at it at the browser and iterate with Claude if we need to. And here is our V1. I'm going to have to blur a lot of this out, but we have sections to recap what we heard, start with some intro questions, talk about the problem we're solving, then go into the solution and the key features and capabilities and outcomes to expect. And in this case, it's including basically like an ROI calculator, really like breaking down the metrics that this particular prospect needs to hit their goals and how our solution helps them get there. In most of mine, I include like a mermaid chart of the architecture of what we're going to build. But in this case, this calculator made a lot more sense. So that's another cool thing, is that the system is like pretty flexible. It's an agent, right? Not a workflow. So you can just do what makes sense given the situation, and it's all in Claude Code. So Claude Code can just build you whatever you want. You could also create a separate agent, use an agent harness like Cloud Agent SDK, and it would be good at coding as well and just be able to be more flexible for you as well. So it has all these sections that we want and pulls from our case studies. That's another thing that's kind of in the Cursor libraries, has access to a bunch of our case studies. I would say it's like a 9 out of 10. I'm going to have a bunch of edits to do, but again, since it's an agent and not a workflow, I'm not just getting like a static output that I have to just like edit manually. I can just go back into Claude Code and tell it what I want to change. And after, a handful of chats with Claude Code and maybe some manual editing as well, this deck will be a 10 out of 10. The design is not AI slop because I gave it examples, templates, and my design system, and it knows not to use M dashes and all that stuff. This is just like a massive time saver. These decks, pre-AI would take me hours and hours and hours, and now this is like, usually a half-hour thing. Ingest the call, work from my existing templates, add a little bit of strategic direction on my own, and boom, we have a really sick V1. It looks like a web page. It doesn't look like a slide deck, but you can make it look like a slide deck the more traditional way. Again, it's all just code, so you can pretty much get it to do whatever you want. The reason why I do web pages like this, like making a landing page, is kind of aligned with like what we do, which is like build people customized AI tooling. So like a SaaS landing page or something like that, but specific to them. So that's why it's a page, but you can totally make it a deck as well. I have it hosted on Vercel, so when I ship it to GitHub, I then have a private link to it that I can share with the prospect or client. Post-call agent. This is another one that's used for both sales and delivery, demand and supply. And so basically after every call, it will take in the call transcript. And then depending if they are, again, networking contact, prospect, or client, it will run a different workflow and basically give me a follow-up. Basically, it allows us to do even more communication than we were doing before and just do better communication with clients so they know that we're on top of things. And this one, again, just runs in the background. I don't have to do anything. It just happens after a meeting is over. No prompting or babysitting of any kind. In terms of delivery, AEO agents, this has been a big, we've done some AEO agents for clients where they want to make this like the new motion or channel that they want to go after. It's cool with agents. You can kind of like close the context loop where you can sort of review what's working and review the analytics and have it update its strategy as it goes. Kind of like I was talking about with the social content agent before. But if you deliver AEO work to clients, definitely like map your workflows, map the operations that you do and like what you're doing to get results for clients. And you can definitely help with outreach to sites for mention building and link building, and as well as content creation at scale. We've run a bunch of different kind of like programmatic landing page builders where we're injecting unique data and expertise from the client. Tons of opportunity in AEO, very hot channel, and a lot of good use cases for AI. This is one on the account management side. I'll just go ahead and show you the demo video. If you're building agents and internal tools at your company, then you know how important it is to get feedback from stakeholders on what you're building. You need to extract their context and expertise to understand the workflow itself and how they make all the context-dependent judgment calls that make all the difference in terms of the quality of your agent's work and the outcomes it can achieve for you. So we built this AI tool that gets AI to make demo videos for you. So what you're watching right now is the AI clicking through the screen, and it's actually recording a voiceover as well, showing the demo of the latest features we've shipped. And I'll show you the video as well. The use case here is we're building a AI visibility tracker for a marketing agency, and we're sharing development updates so we can get their feedback and improve the app. I'll place the demo video that I actually recorded at the end of this video so you can just watch it and see the output. And if you want this skill file, just comment on this post and I'll send it to you. And now you can have your own auto loom. No more writing scripts, recording videos, editing videos. You can just go ahead and get more and better feedback from your stakeholders to improve the agents and tools that you're building.
Hey, Jim. We shipped some updates to your AI visibility tracker. This dashboard shows exactly how 11 Labs shows up across ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, and Claude. Your visibility score is 76, 21 mentions, 12 source citations, 72% positive sentiment. Here is the competitive picture. You lead on ChatGPT and Gemini, but Vapi is ahead on Perplexity. That gap is now visible. It is a content target we can act on. We track every query that matters to your buyers. This one was not citing 11 Labs last month. Now it is. Positive sentiment. 3 citations. 1 sprint of content work moved the needle. This is the citations view. We track exactly which URLs the AI engines are pulling for your category. Your own product blog, a TechCrunch piece, a Hacker News thread. These are the sources that drive AI answers about 11 Labs. Visibility is up 6 points in 2 weeks. That is 1 sprint of work. Take a look and send me your feedback.
And playbook agents. And this is one I just kind of like intentionally left this like vague, which is just like, there's probably a lot of stuff that the off-the-shelf tools don't do that your agency does do. And maybe you're trying to like cobble together like ChatGPT and various other tools, and you're kind of like copying and pasting amongst tools and still not quite getting the quality that you want. That is usually a sign that you want a custom tool that's going to run your exact playbook. So I definitely would recommend here like having someone, either yourself or an external person, like, understand how you're doing this, understand the thought process, map inputs and outputs, like, based on inputs from all these client calls or client talks or whatever, it led to this output deliverable of a strategy deck or a content strategy or, a pillar piece of content or whatever it was, and just kind of like map how that's been done in the past, the decision making, the creativity, all that stuff, and just create an agent or tool that runs your playbooks. Finance agent, I think this is a good one because it's the type of thing that like drowns a lot of a founder's time. It can be handled by AI and automation. Last part of this video, how to build and deploy your custom agents and AI tools. First thing to keep in mind is that company context is absolutely critical. Without company context, you're basically just running very generic AI. It's not taking into account your company's unique subject matter expertise or just general business context in terms of like communications you had with client and so on. And so this is kind of like a visual metaphor of an agent, which is just basically you create this environment or a kitchen where the agent has access to data tools to grab the relevant data, such as from the CRM, skills, which is like how to do things, action tools, which might be like an email sequencer or a CRM or any place where it's like, or email or Slack or something where it's like outputting something. And lastly, like memory, like on how your users within your organization like the agent to behave. But really, the blocker to getting AI to deliver really high quality work that drives outcomes for clients, saves you time, saves you money, is the stuff that's not written down. It's not in a Google Doc. It's not in Slack or email. It's stuck in people's heads. So a few techniques we use with clients. One is just discovery interviews and really asking like deep, open-ended questions just to learn more about how work gets done, how decisions get made, how deliverables get created, mapping processes. Evals, which is having a human to actually evaluate and rate and give feedback on the outputs that the agent is doing. And that's then used to improve the agent. This is typically used before the agent actually goes live into production. Human feedback, and this is usually like after production where human, as they're using it, can give feedback on the outputs. And that again creates like a learning loop where it improves itself. And then at the beginning of projects, we do a lot of prototyping as discovery. So we'll basically like show the user experience of the app, show the end outputs of the app, and be able to get reactions. And then we can kind of work backwards to get the agent or tool to do what you want it to do. There's some other techniques you can use as well. You may want to have like an expert actually do the work. If you haven't been documenting your work already, definitely start documenting your work as much as you possibly can. But if you haven't, get an expert to actually like do the work, such as like creating a brief. Like where do they go to create the brief? What tools do they use? What research practices do they use? Like actually do it and create the brief, and then those examples become input, or it could be editing or qualifying a lead, anything. Just get an expert to do the work if you don't already have that documented. For the evals loop, you want to create like a sample set of inputs that you can continually test your system on. You can do different versions of your system, see which does the best result system. You can change the model, see how different changes to system prompt or anything else influence the output. And lastly, as your system is up and running and getting into a good place, you can start incorporating like an LLM as judge, which is basically like you train the LLM on how you've been doing evals or how you've been doing expert input, and you get the LLM to rate itself. This can work particularly well for things that like can be proven, but it can still be helpful for more subjective things like content. You can do is have it use like fresh context windows and use a different model than the one that's creating the work, so you can kind of basically get like a second opinion. So yeah, an AI native agency, every engagement, every piece of work, every meeting, like every deliverable should like improve itself. It's just giving you more and more data on how decisions get made, how deliverables get created. You're creating more and more context in your organization, which is ultimately going to allow your agents and tools to deliver a better result. If you want to build these on your own, I've created my own software factory. Very briefly, it interviews me to extract the context that it doesn't already have. It creates a plan. I give feedback on the plan. It defines acceptance tests on how it can prove to itself that what it built actually works or needs more iteration. It'll present the plan to me. Again, an opportunity for me to give feedback, add context. I'll usually use a like high quality model for that planning part, and then hand it off to a like lower token consumption model for the actual execution of the code. Use like loops, goals, or workflows or other features of coding agents to get it to just continually run through that plan and development task list instead of having to rely on me for feedback and prompting along the way. Get AI to review the code. We recommend having humans review the code as well, especially for anything like mission critical. And then I'll have it create a demo, kind of like I showed you earlier, with the demo we share to clients. This will do a Loom style video proving that the features are built and the tests are actually passing. And create an explainer again. So this is kind of how you go from getting coding agents to actually like do larger bodies of work and actually deliver a higher quality product for you, should you go down the path of wanting to gain these skills yourself and build things yourself. If you're going to build anything that is like more advanced, larger workflows, more advanced work, anything like that, especially when you're getting into like AI, where there's a subjective territory and you need to do some AI engineering practices such as evals and other techniques and tools, would almost definitely recommend having an engineer. But there is definitely a lot that you can do on your own, and this software factory and the other tools and techniques that I talked about throughout this video can help you get there. If you want an AI engineering team to find use cases in your organization, map your workflows, figure out where AI is going to make impact, come up with good use cases and an AI strategy for you, and then build them out for you, talk to us. Come to visit atherial.ai and book a call. We're happy to chat. We can meet you where you're at in your AI journey and help you get to that next level of AI adoption.